Doing on a channel or
Alia, you can begin.
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people gathered here from across the globe. My name is Alia, an associate researcher at Global Alliance for Space, promoted by Global Alliance for the Promotion of International Trade. The future of the space economy is poised for remarkable growth, driven by advancements in technology and increasing private sector involvement. As space tourism becomes more accessible and affordable, industries such as satellite services, asteroid mining, and space based manufacturing are expected to flourish. These developments will not only create new markets, but also enhance global communications, resource extraction, and scientific research, ultimately contributing to economic expansion and sustainability on Earth. We are honored to have Dr. Srimathy Kesan with us today. Dr. Srimathy Kesan, a trailblazer in space education and visionary founder and CEO of Space Kidz India. Dr. Srimathy Kesan is a pioneering force in making space exploration accessible and economical for further generations. Through Space Kidz India, launched in 2011, she has designed and implemented programs that cultivate scientific thinking and innovation among young Indians. Her mission is to disrupt the traditional Indian education system by introducing space education, fostering future scientists and space enthusiasts. Global Alliance for Space Economy is dedicated to promoting the growth and development of the space economy, emphasizing the commercialization of space-related activities and industries. The council advocates for the advancement of space technologies, including satellite technology, propulsion systems, and space exploration innovation. It promotes sustainable practices in space activities, including space debris mitigation, responsible space exploration, and space environmental protection. From an Indian perspective, the space economy designs significant opportunities for growth and innovation. With ISRO's successful missions and cost effective satellite launches, India is well positioned to become a global leader in space technology. The burgeoning private sector, uh, private sector, private space sector supported by government policies can drive advancement in satellite communications, remote sensing, and space exploration. These developments can boost India's economy, enhance national security, and contribute to global efforts in climate monitoring, disaster management, and connectivity, positioning India as a key player in the international space economy. Now, now over to you, ma'am. You can start the presentation now.
Thank you, Alia. That was very vibrant and extremely honored to be speaking at the Global Council of Promotion of International Trade, wherein I am a part of it for quite some time. I think together we are going to be building this ecosystem and taking it beyond space. Though we are talking about space, we are going to be going beyond space. Well, I just would like to share a brief video about our journey, and then probably we'll start talking. So I will start sharing. This is a different video.
कलाम सेट लॉन्च किया।
Kalam sat, and they are the first customers. Let me compliment and congratulate the team.
Well, thank you so much for watching the video. This shows a brief journey. Of course, after that, I don't think we have actually had the time to include two other orbital missions of ours, the Azadi Sat, wherein we have had 750 rural girl children from Kashmir to Kanyakumari who have worked on building a satellite. So you can see yes, this is the satellite that went up, the SSLV, the small satellite launch vehicle on D1 and D2. This was a 12-kilogram satellite, and this was, you generally make two models of satellites. One is the flight model, and the other we have it with us. So that anything that goes wrong or anything, we kind of work on this and see how to mitigate the issue in our in-orbit mission. So, well, as you got to see, the journey of Space Kidz India started off in 2011 as an educational, scientific educational organization, experiential learning organization, wherein I was given the ambassador status for the NASA, ESA, and GCTC space camps. And almost about 3,500 children I had flown from India, Nigeria, Dubai, and continuously after traveling, I found there was a huge gap in this particular industry called space, because no private players before that. It was predominantly the governmental missions which were handled by ISRO. So this, I wanted to break this, disrupt this industry, do something different, and bring in the youth of the country, get them involved in this industry by building satellites, rockets. So initially it was very difficult because you need to get permissions, huge permissions, and the financial quotients that were involved in building a satellite, launching a satellite, was exorbitant. So, what we thought was, we will tweak that satellite missions, and we will start off as a baby step into space through near space launch missions. And we built a vehicle called the NSLV Kalam, and that will carry sensors. You had seen in the video those huge giant balloons that were carrying payload, right? So that is the NSLV mission, wherein the vehicle will carry sensors, cameras, and everything attached to a helium balloon, and that will go up to near space, literally 30 to 40 kilometers near space. And this was a very big strategy that we had to play to convince the government to give permissions to go until then, because there were no precedences before that. And it was very difficult for them to give, because there are a lot of flights going on at 35,000 feet. And they were quite skeptical as to if we were going to give you permissions, then if anything happens to the flight, what would happen? Of course, NOTAM is there. They would be giving the pilots NOTAM, But yet, these are not maneuvered balloons. So when you're physically not maneuvering them, how is it going to be there and, holding on in space, and how are we going to control? So it was a constant development, I should say, from there on. So we built about 20 of it now. In fact, we were invited by the African government at Seychelles to support their students, teach them how to build a NSLV launch. And this was a big world record there in Africa. Similarly, Ms. Vasundhara Raje, the then Chief Minister of Rajasthan, was extremely impressed, and she had invited us to launch balloons there at Rajasthan. So from there on, it was we wanted to move on to the next step. There was a huge competition that was organized by NASA, a space challenge, wherein they said 64 grams. They gave us the weight, and they said within 64 grams, whatever you can do, but we want a space experiment. They had mentioned space experiment, and for us, it became a boon. What we did was, we put in all the sensors, we built a 64-gram satellite, the world's lightest and first ever 3D printed satellite, called the Kalamsat, and sent it to NASA. Everybody were surprised that how young Indian kids could do this. My teen was, I should say, about 16-year-old was the youngest, and the oldest was 18 years old. And they were all in their +1 and, first year of graduation. So this was the age gap. And they brilliantly worked on this, and we successfully got through the challenge, and we were given a free launch, which is a very, very interesting factor, because a launch cost of a satellite then in 2017 that I'm talking about was literally like $1 lakh. And student missions were not very popular in India, because they were skeptical when we gave them the presentation. They said probably they have to finish their post-graduation, PhD, come back, work for some time, and then, build their satellites. But I thought, we need to do something different. So that is where, the entrepreneurship bug in me was like thinking totally different. It's not that we have to only, an entrepreneur can be made only after a PhD or a post-graduation. We can create entrepreneurship even when they are young, and especially in the space industry. But of course, the components and everything was very difficult, in procuring in India, within India. So what we had to do is a lot of sensors and components, we had to procure it outside, which actually put pressure on our finances, because we had to pay taxes. There were so many taxes that we had to pay. And so it was very difficult when we had to import. And if we had to build an industry that could sustain here was again another question mark, because how many launches are going to happen in India consecutively so that these components and sensors can be used here multiple times? So we had no other option but to import and first establish a aerospace organization wherein people will turn their heads around and say that this is valid, these students are extremely good, and they are dependable. So we had to validate this whole thing, and this brought us great laurels. So if you can see this, this is the world's lightest and first ever 3D printed satellite that went up a NASA Stereo Orion rocket from Wallops, Virginia. Of course, this was a suborbital mission. People who know a little about science, suborbital is that goes up and comes down in a parabola. So this was there in space environment for almost 5 minutes. So it could gauge all the data and everything. So it came down with the data. So this was a validation for us into the space industry. So that was the first step. And after that, it was no looking back. Then we moved on to build 3 other suborbital missions, one which went up in a Texas rocket, in a private aerospace company. They had built a reusable rocket. They were trying to build a reusable rocket. They came across, chanced upon our organization's name, and they gave us an opportunity to fly a 1U satellite. So 1U satellite will be, 10 into 10 into 10 centimeters. It's a square, a square, and it would weigh about anywhere between 900 to 1 kilogram, 900 grams to 1 kilogram. So that's where we started entering into the space industry. And the market was opening up in 2020, wherein Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji came in, and Dr. Jitendra Singh went to ISRO, and he said, I think all this needs to be open to private partnership. And any country's development depends on, a private-public partnership. And, this started growing. The industry started growing in a huge way. There was a rocket company called Agnikul, which was building semi-cryogenic engine with 3D, the engine was built by, a single piece 3D printing. That was amazing. I mean, so people started investing in the rocket companies and space companies. The startup culture had started to evolve from 2019-20. It is still nascent, of course. If you think about investment per se in India, there is just about 1 or 2 investors, maybe, or we could even name 3 investors who actually, investing firms actually, who are investing into space. Because, space is something that where you need to have patience before you reap some benefit. But now the policies have been framed, because we did not have a space policy for quite some time. 2023 is a remarkable year where a space policy was brought out. And in fact, 2022, yes, InSpace was formed. InSpace, the right arm for ISRO, which was the authorization and promoting agency. Because ISRO was burdened with not only the R&D, the launches and everything, marketing also, in fact. Because we are placed in a strategic location. ISRO is placed, the launch pad at Sriharikota is placed in a very strategic location. So, the launch is very, very beautiful and, very economical when people from abroad come to India. I think we have launched almost about 486 satellites, of which I think about 136 or 34 are Indian satellites, but rest of all is foreign satellites. So there's a lot of economy that has started building around this space industry. This was a chance for the government to think about building a beautiful ecosystem. Hence, what they did was, after Sriharikota, now they are thinking about Kulasekarapatnam to launch the small satellite launch vehicles from there. So that we have 2 launch pads and 2 places from where launches can take place. And so that, it boosts our economy. 2% is where we play our hands with now in global economy. So we are eyeing to be, to come somewhere between 30-34% at least by 2040. So for which we need to speed up and work on how we enlarge this ecosystem. Because this ecosystem has brought in, almost after the policy was made, after InSpace was brought in, and they started actually registering more startups. Almost about 150 to 200 startups in the aerospace industry we have in our country, each one of them working on different things. In fact, we had in 2022, we had Skyroot demonstrating their rocket capability. And they are also going to be carrying around 300 kilograms of payload. And they are using, of course, solid propellant, I should say. So that launch was the first private launch. And immediately you should see the share markets, they were, it really popped up. And everybody started looking at India as a major player in space industry, because it was the PSLV, GSLV, LVM, and now, of course, SSLV. These were the rockets of India, and it was the PSLV was the workforce which continuously kept flying, being launched. But in a year wherein the launches were only 2 or 3, now has risen to almost 7 launches, 8 launches. But that is also not sufficient for the market, because there's so much of requirement across the globe, and India wants to pick the whole chunk of it. So that is the reason they are giving a thought, that is technology transfer to the private industry with regards to PSLV and SSLV, so that the manufacturing of rockets can speed up, because the private players can pump in more funds. FDI is open, and it's almost 100%. And for some, they have a class of 74%, but majority is 100%. So, Indian private players are leveraging this. So they are trying to boost the space economy by bringing in FDI from Europe and America, wherein the launch and the rockets and the satellite industry is robust there. It is, though it is still in nascent stage here, across the globe, it's extremely robust. So they want to grab this opportunity and be there as the epicenter to bring in more for the country. So I think India will definitely be moving ahead strong after these policies and after this FDI being announced. I think India's economy, space economy, is going to be extremely positive, on the rise. So we are all looking forward to it. Apart from that, you have other companies wherein, like Pixel, who are doing imagery. And we have SAR companies like CICIR, and we also have Digantra, who's working on debris. So these are the companies whom the Western world is really having an eye on, because economically they are able to do a right share here from India. In fact, we have also, Alia was talking about space education. Yes, we started off as an education organization, but moved on, wherein we are building student satellites. So all these satellites were built by students. So we want to catch them young and give them this exposure and experience. Now, moving on, what we have done is we have spent a company called Space Rickshaw Private Limited, wherein it is going to be a complete commercial entity of Space Kidz. So here in Space Rickshaw Private Limited, we are going to be building labs in space. So what is like labs in space? I mean, is it going to be helpful for us? Yes, of course, for a lot of researchers, commercial companies, building, putting in their entire money on one satellite may be very, very critical for them. So what we are doing is we kind of having a superstructure, a bus, wherein 4 different players or 5 different players, depending on the mass of their payload, can have a right share into space, into LEO, MEO, and GEO, and perform the experiments, send the data, which will be useful for them, and subsequently with low investment, and go there. And after that, when they are confident enough, they can have their own satellite built and sent. This apart, we are eyeing on going to the moon, because lunar orbit or moon is the most attractive destination for everybody. After the Apollo missions, I think, again, mankind is thinking of going to the moon. Of course, we've had these Starliners, Starlings, everybody thinking of sending their astronauts. In fact, while we are talking, Sunita Williams and William Willie Bush is already there in space. Great news. Boeing's first ever human capsule that they've tried. Of course, it went on with too many ups and downs. And finally, Sunita's third, time into space. We're all extremely proud that an Indian origin astronaut is there up in space. Well, she's there in the ISS performing experiments. And SpaceX, of course, SpaceX is doing wonders with their Starlink. Yesterday, they had this, re-entry vehicle that they were trying, and that has been very, very successful. Yesterday, it had a splash in the Atlantic Ocean after a successful, launch and, coming back. So all this is happening in space. It's an exciting time to be in this industry. Many say probably, it's a bubble that, when there is some launches, everything comes in and then probably, after a while it breaks. No. Alia, I should say you were right in the, initiating this conversation by saying asteroid mining and bringing back lunar samples. While we are talking Changi 6, yes, yesterday is already brought in a sample from the far side of the moon. Chandrayaan 3 had launched on the far side of the moon, and we were excited, and we are all having happy moments sharing that. But now Changi is bringing back samples, so we are to catch up. India needs to catch up in all these areas. So we need a lot of money to be pumped into this industry now. And it is not that we are happy, satisfied by launching satellites. No, data mining is very, very important. And I think there are a number of startups in India who are working on that. So it is just that the investors should understand this market, and I think should have patience after investing to be there and to handhold the startups and come along this journey. And I think India will be there. We are already, I think, say fourth, or we juggle between fourth and fifth position, but by the usage of outer space in peace, I think India is number one. Whereas because the other countries like America, Russia, China, everybody started using anti-satellite missions. So I think we should not be having wars there. And I hope we don't do. Of course, we've just tried once, but I don't think we will be getting into anti-satellite missions beyond that. So let us use space as a peaceful place where we can do a lot of research. And to understand Earth, I think one has to go out to space. So I think that is the best thing that the investors can do, is handhold the startups and boost our economy so that the best of the brains don't go elsewhere. They are here within India doing this research for India and boosting the economy of India. Well, space tourism is another big subject. Blue Origin has taken almost, four astronauts who have already been there in space. They've crossed the Karman line, and they've been given the astronaut pride. And for us, Rakesh, Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, he's the pride of our country until now. The only cosmonaut who has been there in space for 3 days in 1984, and that was through a Russian mission. And well, our ambitious mission, of course, Honorable Prime Minister, and along with everybody, I think the Gaganyaan mission is one ambitious mission that we are all targeting. And hopefully by year next, we will be sending a man in space. The training for the astronauts and all have been done, and they're all ready to go. And in fact, one astronaut, as per the accord signed between India and America, is going to be taken to the International Space Station year next. So everybody is, crossing fingers and looking forward to seeing who is that lucky person who is going to be going to International Space Station year next. And subsequently, of course, our Gaganyaan missions. And these are going to be the inspiration for the younger generation. So that is the reason Space Kidz India catches them young. We catch them young when they are so fearless and they can think out of the box, and we can do little experiments in space and create that impact. And this apart, I should say, the Artemis Accord is a huge thing between India, US, and the rest of the world. So the moon is the happening spot. You know, Chanda Mama, all that is gone. We are going to be there on the moon and singing songs. In fact, I should say there are a lot of people already selling tickets to the moon, and they say picnic spots on the moon, and selling plots on the moon. Can you believe it? So it's an interesting era of space. And of course, without money, there is nothing. So economy plays an important role again and again. I would like to come back to say that we might have ideas. We might have the potential. We might have everything possible. But if there is no investors or money or takers, it's very, very difficult to move on. So I hope and believe that the government of India and the private venture capitalists understand this, the requirement of building our space ecosystem here in India, and support us, handhold us, so that we are in the prime and we come numero one. Of course, people say there is no race, there is no race. I wouldn't believe that. There is always a race in life for everybody, and I think space has also got this race. And if you see, each one of them want to, you know, cut across and go beyond. And China is going way beyond, and hopefully it is for the good, because some missions are terrorizing, I should say, and we use space for peace. Well, I think with AI and ML coming in, there's going to be a lot of technology improvements, and there was a green propulsion. You know, instead of what do we say? Sustainability is playing a very important role now. So people talk about it, and they say even, you know, for the launches, we need to go green. So some of the interesting green propulsion models are being used, and probably we'll see the launches by next year, because I think year last they had, Bellatrix had their launch tech demonstration, and they've done a great job. So there are brilliant, brilliant organizations coming up with brilliant cutting edge technologies, and I'm sure we will be doing good. Well, with regards to Space Kidz India, there is one other thing that I would like to speak and finish my presentation from here to NASA, ESA, and GCTC space camps. That's one thing where we lack. I felt that the Indian money was going there in huge chunk to all these countries. There is a huge volume of money that is there in this particular industry, I should say. The Space Research Park is one thing that I'm dreaming about building here in India. And this is going to be, again, a game changer for so many of them, because it's going to give them that exposure into space, give them a feel of being in space, and with simulations and everything live. It's going to create a big time experience for all the children, not only the children, but adults, and the return on investment for this particular thing is going to be humongous. I wish and hope I made the presentation to Honorable Prime Minister and a couple of CMs, and hopefully somebody will pick this up, and we will have a space research park very soon in our country. And because having so many brilliant scientists and educators here in India, I think we should retain this well within India, and we have to attract, students from Middle East, Far East, and Southeast, because this is a huge chunk of market. People think, investing about 300, 400 crores in this, what are we going to get and when are we going to get? But investing about 350 crores in this, in the next 5 years, you're going to break even, and this is going to play a major game changer. We are very positive about it. So I think I have made a small video of this, and I would like to play to my people watching this, what is a space research park? What is this lady, constantly talking about it? So I will be very happy to play that video and showcase it to everybody as to what exactly will a space research park have. So I will share that now.
Space Research Park, a revolutionary unit of Space Kidz India. Created as the brainchild of Dr. Srimathy Kesan, the Space Research Park aims to provide students with a world-class experience and knowledge in the field of space exploration. As we step inside the main building, a world of possibilities unfolds before us. Here, you'll find the reception, ticket counter, state-of-the-art classrooms, cutting-edge simulators, and an awe-inspiring auditorium. This building serves as the nerve center of the Space Research Park. Venture further, and you'll discover the thrill of indoor skydiving. Feel the rush of adrenaline as you experience the sensation of floating amidst the clouds, defying gravity within a controlled environment. Continuing our journey, we arrive at the Rocket Garden, a sight to behold. On both sides, towering rockets stand as testaments to human innovation and space exploration. This outdoor exhibit sparks curiosity and inspires wonder. As we ascend to the observatory, a panoramic view unfolds. From the top, you can witness the sprawling Space Research Park in all its glory. Below, you'll find the Space Museum, library, and an open auditorium, creating an enriching environment for learning and discovery. Immerse yourself in nature at the Greenery Telescope Park, an open classroom where students can explore the wonders of the universe while surrounded by lush greenery. Here, knowledge blends harmoniously with the beauty of the outdoors. Our next destination takes us to the Mars Simulation Area, where participants engage in a weekly astronaut training program. This simulated Martian land challenges them to fulfill tasks and duties while donning authentic astronaut suits. Participants even grow their own food in the red soil, replicating the conditions of the red planet. After an exhilarating experience, indulge your taste buds at the space-themed restaurant. Feast on delectable cuisine while surrounded by cosmic ambience, making dining an out-of-this-world experience. As our journey nears its end, let us appreciate the grandeur of the Space Research Park from a breathtaking aerial perspective. The culmination of vision and innovation, the Space Research Park stands as a beacon of knowledge, inspiring generations to reach for the stars. Space Research Park, a testament to Dr. Srimathy Kesan's dream, aims to support government initiatives in education, enhancing our nation's competitiveness through investments in next-generation technologies. Through collaborations with governments, commercial entities, academia, and international partners, we strive to advance science and technology at the academic level, fostering a brighter future for the students.
So that was it, a dream, and hopefully this dream comes true very soon. Yes, so thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm indeed honored to have this beautiful evening to be talking to everybody. Thank you so much, GCPIT. And if there are any questions, I'm willing to take.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was such an informative session. Ma'am, we have some few questions. India's space program has achieved remarkable feats. How can we leverage this storage foundation to become a leader in the global space economy?
See, the important thing here in India is our launch economics. Our launch economics are a game changer. We've had OneWeb and everybody coming to India because we have an economical launch. Okay, PSLV is an economic launch provider and GSLV, of course. So with this, we can leverage that, we can leverage a big economy there. But of course, SpaceX is a huge competition. We shouldn't forget. So if we are able to do a turnaround of rockets, so again here, this is why I said, a public-private partnership is very important. A government institution like ISRO cannot continuously keep building and rebuilding, at a short span of time. And so if it is, because you need huge investments for that. So if there is a private company, example, Skyroot or Bicol, to support ISRO, together we can, have this as a stronghold, hit people with the economics and, boost our economy by doing more launches. And also, research that has to be done by smaller nations who do not have a space industry. We set an example for them, and we stand there to hold hands, and we can do end-to-end service, for space, anything in space, end-to-end service can be done. That is what, ISRO is planning to have a complete ecosystem at Kulasekarapatnam, wherein a person coming with an idea can sit there within a month, build there and launch, get the data, go back home. So this is what is planned by the Indian government. I hope we succeed soon.
That's amazing. The Indian government has opened the space sector to private companies. What are the biggest challenges and opportunities for private players in the new landscape?
Well, see, with regards to the space industry, investment plays a big role. I keep repeating this, but that is the fact. Early beginners say about 2017, when Agnikul and Skyroot initiated the process of rocket building, they could attract Indian investors because it was a new industry, and people had a passion towards doing something new, so they could support these startups and handhold them by giving by investing in their companies. And not only that, the Western world also saw them as a big potential. So that is the reason they started pumping in, like from Singapore for Skyroot and US for Agnikul. They supported a lot with regards to the investment, and that's how they could build a huge company with 1,000 employees, I should say, and that to all young, bright minds just out of college. So everybody is so bold, out of the box thinkers, and this became a huge opportunity for all these people who were thinking that reaching space was not possible or impossible, became possible. So that is how, in fact, I should say, as you rightly used the word trailblazer, we've been a trailblazer in this industry because we started in 2015. And, our team is about 12 people. And, from 8th grade, today they are doing their PhD and everything. And we are the only organization in India to have done about 26 missions, space missions. So, given an opportunity, how, kids can absolutely disrupt an industry. And that became a precedence for a lot of college students to get into this industry because it was fascinating. So beyond fascinating, now it has become a competition, it's become an opportunity to do multiple things. So it's a huge opportunity, I would say. Challenges, of course, yes. Which industry doesn't have challenge? Every industry has a challenge. So, when you're working with semi-cryo engines and everything, and first ever time, a 3D printed engine, Agnikul went different stages of challenges. 5 times their launch was put off. And in spite of that, they stood bold and resilient and launched it just 4 days ago. So it's a huge thing. And all this happened because they are young, I should say. They are young. And I always give it to the young people. Very bold. And they can withstand anything.
Yes, ma'am. That's interesting. That's amazing. Next question. What specific space-based technologies do you see holding the most potential for economic benefit in India? Example, remote sensing, satellite communication, and space tourism.
There is, I think everything is intertwined or interlinked. One cannot be without the other because, imagery for data is huge. And, similarly, I would say tourism. Tourism, of course, only Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic are doing it. But I think India, will get into that market very soon. There is one company, I'm not very familiar with the name, but they are working on space tourism, because everybody looks at India as a huge market because of the population and the spending power. And you know what, Indians, we are bored about taking pictures of Northern Light and, going to Australia or the US and say, oh, I'm here, and putting it up on social media. Now it is all space. I want to go into space. In fact, you won't believe we had the opportunity of, having one plus mobiles. We had them on our payload box, and we tried to click videos and all that with them. So everything is getting fascinating. In fact, our upcoming mission, we are going to be having the lightest deployer possible. So hopefully when that works, again, it's going to be churning a lot of money, because a deployer is one thing where you pay money for building the deployer, for the design of the deployer, and for the payload, again, you need to be paying. So which means to say it becomes 3 times the cost. So that is the reason this industry is very, very finance oriented and taxing. So here, if you're able to cut corners, and if you're able to bring in a new technology in developing the deployers, I think it would save a lot of money. And that would be a game changer again. So our upcoming mission in SSLV D3, we are going to be launching our deployer and going to be validating it. So everything is important for boosting our space economy. We are in the right place at the right time. So I think, we are blessed, I should say.
Yes, ma'am. And all the best for your SSLV project.
Thank you.
What kind of support and collaboration is needed between the government, ISRO, and private companies to foster a thriving space ecosystem in India?
Well, again, it comes on back to the funding. Government can provide some support system. For example, say I've been the only woman-led space organization for quite some time now. Now, the last 2-3 years, I'm able to see some young girls coming as co-founders and everything. But for almost about a decade, I was there as the only woman founder. And, it is very difficult to be a woman founder in a deep tech. For anybody to be in deep tech is difficult. More so, being a woman is very, very difficult. So, there needs to be some support with regards to funding, as grants. But grants, again, it needn't be like a competition. You can validate our process, whatever we are building. And if you're able to give us the money for the, the subsystems or whatever we want to build, if you're able to support us with funding, I think that will be great, rather than giving us a problem statement. And if you're able to give a solution to that, then you provide funds. I think that is where the government needs to revisit this whole thing and see how they are able to do funding. Of course, ISRO is doing a lot of technology transfer, and they are also hand-holding startups with regards to technology, because their experience is vast. So we need that experienced people to be there, that experienced support to be there to move on. So what they have done is, now they have opened up InSpace, and InSpace has got a list of ex-ISRO professionals who are willing to support startups and stand by them and help them in the technology. So this is like, there is a guidance there. So you have a ready-made guidance who will be supporting you, and you will not be making many mistakes. So that itself will be a super saver with regards to finances. And now the private equity players, I think in the beginning, or I think I've said this multiple times in my speech now, I think they have to understand this is not a product market or something that we sell and we get immediate returns. This is more to do with R&D. There is a lot of research in, a debris cannot be, there is a university in UK which is working on harpoons for the space debris. But they've been doing this for the last 5 years. So 5 years, in the sense, next they are going to be still continuing to do, because they've still not come to a groundbreaking solution for it. They have different solutions, but nothing on the dot. So when that is happening, you need funds to be generated and patience, so that people understand that space takes time. So you invest, be there, but when you reap in millions. So we need the support of government, ISRO, and in space now, of course, for the authorizations and everything, and VCs.
Yes, ma'am. Moving on to the next question. Skilled workforce is crucial for any industry. How can India bridge the skill gap in the space sector to meet the demands of the growing space economy?
But here I would say that it is not like the other industries where you give them like 1 month skill development course or 6 months skill development course, and he or she can work on the industry. No, this particular industry requires hands-on training. So if you're going to be in a live mission, only then, because the challenges that occur when there is, one semicolon mistake in a software, one full stop not being there in a software, your entire mission goes for a crock. That's it. Okay, so this is very, very a volatile industry, where I would say that, anything can go wrong anytime. Even at the launch pad, after you mount your rocket, place your satellite, still something can go wrong. A limit switch not, actioning at the last minute can crash the whole mission. So here, we cannot call this a skill development area. They get trained, but you have to work on real-time missions. And until and unless you work on real-time missions, you're not going to get the exposure of the challenges, and you're not going to be thinking about what you can do as an alternate for this.
Yes, ma'am. Space exploration is often seen as a distant dream for many. How can we inspire the next generation to participate in India's space journey and contribute to the space economy?
Come to Space Kidz. Well, that's what we've been doing for a decade now. We want to catch them young, and we've been, teaching the children, tutoring the children, and building satellites. So it is step by step. You cross LKG, you go to 10th grade, then you go graduating, and then, So similarly, what we do is we teach them the basics of even drawing a star and a rocket. So from there, you got to start. Then give that, maybe the children should have passion. So only such passionate children who are not thinking about, immediate millions and trillions, but can think about how they can create a difference in this industry, are the people who need to be working in this industry. So, of course, Azadi Sat is a big testimony, I should say. In fact, all our satellite missions, because my team, as I mentioned to you earlier, we're all from 8th grade, and today they are doing their PhD. So which means to say, from 13 years, they've been soiling their hands with satellite building. And these have inspired the next generation. So we often get mails every day, almost about 115 mails we get, stating, I want to be a scientist, I want to build a satellite. People always think that, one person can build a satellite. There is so much, it is in multidisciplinary. You need every department in this, right from a promotional department to the finance, art, structural engineering. You need software engineers, you need electronic engineers, you need everybody for building one satellite or one rocket. So I think more of these private organizations should open internships for these children, so that they at least have exposure to what is happening there in space currently, and rub shoulders with the engineers who've already built, satellites and rockets. And that way they can learn, and if they are inspired, can start their own startup. But there is a huge potential now, of course. People say that it was very difficult to import. I was mentioning to you the components and everything, so people were scared to do all that. But now I think the ecosystem is becomes so vast and huge that there is support from every corner, from ISRO, from InSpace, everywhere there is support. So you can start a small startup, and then thinking of if you're truly passionate and if you truly want to be in this industry, then I think you can go in for big funding and work on this. But catch them young is my mantra, and I always believe that catch them there, and they're going to do wonders.
Yes, ma'am. That was wonderfully put. Sustainability is a growing concern. How can India ensure responsible and sustainable practices in its space exploration and economic activities?
There are a lot of cutting edge technologies now coming up with AI and IoTs and green propulsion and everything. So, gone are those days where people were sitting down to do with CNC missions and, carrying, one equipment, one component was so huge, and, it is all downsized now. Everything is nano now. So the mass perspective and the debris perspective, everything is being mitigated, and the best possible things are being used, and the launch is happening in a very, very sustained manner, or in a very natural manner, wherein the debris, I understand when you say sustainable is everybody will speak about, see, so much on earth, we've cluttered the earth. Now, do you want to clutter space also? That's become a big question now, big discussion. But if you're not going to go to space, you will not be knowing anything about earth. And there is so much to still excavate about earth. So we definitely need to go there. Of course, yes, if there are going to be a lot of lunar soil mining, asteroid mining, and all this going to be happening, that is very ambitious. That I think there needs to be a control system. And of course, UN does play, the outer space. We have treaty and so many policies and all that. Beyond that, there are certain things that are happening, which I think there needs to be a control. There needs to be a policy to hold on to it, so that we don't disrespect nature, and we clutter space. So there needs to be some mechanisms that we inbuilt when the satellite is launched, so that once its work and purpose is done in space, it deorbits and it doesn't leave a huge debris. So this is where I think we need to be working next. And it is going to take some time, but of course we will be there very soon. And maybe the next 10 years is going to be very, very important for the space industry across the globe, not only India, I would say across the globe. And I would say India is a very safe space. We are in a very safe position, and with good brains, we are able to come up with new technologies in a very economical manner. That's the most important thing. Why people across the globe look at India is for the workforce. Of course, the Artemis and the LUPEX mission of Japan, all these things, they are looking at India for partnership and support. So it's all because of the brains and the economical workforce. So I think with all this, we will come up with some better technologies to save space.
Yes, ma'am. Going on to the next question. Global collaboration is a key in the space sector. What kind of international partnerships are crucial for India's growth in the space economy?
This is a brilliant question. Well, some people have the brain, some people have the technology, some people have the money, So I think a conglomeration, a collaboration with all of it will bring a good, a good mission. And space is one thing, it's always considered borderless, and, scientific exploration is always done together. But again, there is so much of space race. Everybody says, I'm the first and I'm the second and everything. But with regards to India, I think, they are already our Vikas engine from Russia. And there is a lot of, even in the Apollo, whatever the Apollo missions, they had these, I'm not able to recollect that. There was some technology that was transferred from there for our Chandrayaan-1. And in fact, the Chandrayaan-1 and 3 carried some instruments of NASA. And so what happens is, we are, creating space for them when we are going there up, as well as making money because we are carrying their instruments. Plus, when the outcome of those instruments are utilized in our upcoming mission. So this is the kind of collaboration, so this is the kind of collaboration where we work with different industries. And I'm very sure that, such collaboration will come up with beautiful science. So science is one thing where there should be no big competition, but it has to be collaboration. So India is in a great position, and it's very, very friendly because, with regards to France, with regards to, the European Union, if I have to say, and with America, with Russia, I think we are in a safe space where we are collaborating with everybody, and we are bringing out the best capabilities.
Yes, ma'am, that was very well explained. Thank you. Moving on to the next question. There are ethical considerations regarding space exploration, like space debris and resource utilization. How can India play a leading role in shaping responsible space governance?
See, the whole thing is, I keep telling you, there is nothing like a lead role, In space, it is collaboration. And space policies are all guided and, predominantly by the UN. And there is a UN committee, and there is a law with the outer space, UNUSA, UN for outer space law. So these are the people who actually have policies which are built so that, we do not do anything beyond what is in between the lines. So here there is nothing like how we are going to lead. It is how we are not going to be cluttering space, how good we are going to use our technology and not create debris is what is important. And if we are able to, hold that, and if we are able to clear space, there are some startups in India who are claiming that they are going to be maneuvering the satellites and clearing the debris. So if they are able to be successful on their mission, then I would say we would take the lead in that, and we will be helping the other countries from clearing the debris. So there is a long way to go. I wouldn't say we are on the lead or anybody is on the lead, but everybody is working. So we need to get there, and we are still yet to be there.
Yes, ma'am. Looking ahead, what are your aspirations for India's position in the global space economy by 2030?
Oh, brilliant. In fact, I just had written an article last week in the Financial Express stating that, 2% of it is now. But I think I am looking at 15% by end of next year. I know I'm extremely ambitious, but you know what? The PSLV and SSLV and can play a very important role. And there are a lot of scientific missions across the globe which are waiting for the launches. So if we are able to have a proper launch manifest by ISRO and InSpace, I think then there are, the other countries are absolutely looking at India because of the economical launch. So they are going to, come to India, and they are going to be launching from here, which is going to bring in huge revenue for the country. So as of now, we are only looking at satellite launching. So it is a launch provider. On that, we are embarking, and we are looking at the economy. But if we are able to move ahead and think about space tourism or space advertisement, what we are working on, a new kind of industry that we want to bring in. Actually, the SSLV D3, we have, a space advertisement that we are planning to send and record a video and play it down on ground. So if we are able to think something out of the box and give it to the people around the globe, I'm sure, people are going to look at India and only come to India for their launches. And as mentioned earlier, if Kulashekharapatnam can be speeded up, and if they can speed up the process of building the whole plant as soon, then I'm sure, from the ideation to the launch to receiving the data, everything can be done within 6 months of span, So everything depends in the hands of the government now, how they are able to foresee this whole industry and think that there is so much of revenue that is possible by this industry. So if they are able to move forward and give maximum support, I think we can do wonders in this industry.
Yes, ma'am, that was indeed very informative. Thank you so much for providing us with such a clear and professional explanation. It was very enlightening. As we've come to the end of the session, I'd like to thank Dr. Srimathy Kesan for this very informative session, as we got to learn so much about space from your perspective, as we learned about SLV satellite, the journey of Space Kidz India, and the first ever lightest satellite made by young minds, and that's amazing. We could see the joy on your face when you spoke about the lunar mission. And space research is something that was very interesting and it was very impressive.
There's huge money in that, Alia. There's huge money.
Yes, yes. And all the very best for your future endeavors for SLV D3 project, for Space Research Park. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Huge thanks to GCPIT, led by a visionary, Mr. Santosh. And thank you for that wonderful takeoff, Alia. And I was great and happy to be amongst all of you today. Thank you. Have a great evening. God bless.